Welcome to Fresh Off the Boat. I'm delighted to be interviewing Ishnur Singh, and he's a student who's graduated from DPS Sector 45 in Gurgaon, and it was a pleasure working with you, Ishnur. And now knowing that you're settled in well at UCLA, which is such a big and famous and highly selective institution, is always good to know. Tell me a little bit about your early like life at UCLA. Did you expect all the changes that you were going to face?
I think definitely expected everything that was gonna. You go in and you're like, yeah, I'm ready for a new life, and you're expecting everything to be very different, and it definitely lives up to that expectation of it being very different. Is just that I don't think it's easy to anticipate sitting at home, in that like 2 3 month period between the boards and going to college, like how you would deal with that difference. So I think it was definitely as different as I expected. It wasn't like the dealing with the difference part wasn't the same as expected, I think.
Okay. And do you think it was not just from the academics, but settling in socially, all of that also played up in your mind?
Definitely, I definitely think that was a huge thing for me, and I think that's a thing for all college freshmen, whether you're from a different country or if they're from the US as well. I think everyone faces that as a freshman. You're just like going to a completely different environment, and like even if you are from the same state, you don't know too many people in your college. So I think socially also settling in is a huge thing. It takes a time. It takes a while, but most colleges have orientations and RAs and uh, freshman floors have fun little events planned all throughout like your first sem or your first quarter to help with that, and that kind of like introduces you to a few faces, and then it's kind of on you to track those people down and actually hang out with them.
Right. So very soon you started making your academic choices, and you went and declared under engineering, or was it something that you switched to?
Yeah, so I went in with computer engineering, under engineering, and at the end of my freshman year, I switched to computer science. It's very similar with like small differences. So,
Right. So, of course, computer science is considered a much more sort of coveted major, or it doesn't matter. It's pretty much the same in terms of
no, different.
selectivity.
So in terms of the major I was shifting from, it was equally selective, but from some of the other majors, it's definitely more selective. But in terms of transferring, at least at UCLA, if you're within engineering, it's relatively easy. Like my roommate transferred from mechanical to CS. It's definitely not that difficult. There's a very clear set of criteria, and they're relatively easy to pass on your first year. But if you're switching out, like if you're outside the School of Engineering and then you want to switch into uh, a field study inside the School of Engineering, then it gets a bit more difficult.
Very often students ask, what is the difference between computer engineering and computer science? And then when we look up websites of different colleges, they have different things to say. So it doesn't really help. So what is the short answer and what is the right answer when you're looking at UCLA?
So with UCLA, we have this sort of a spectrum. We have double E on one side and CS on one side, and then we have computer science engineering over here, right next to CS, and we have computer engineering right next to CE, right next to double E. Sorry.
Electric.
So the way it works is it's about the number of electives that you can choose from each for the upper divs. So the all of these courses have a very similar sort, like all the CSE and CSE and CS are very similar sort of like uh, you know compulsory lower divs for CS as well as a double E, like but the electives that you get to choose from are differ. So for CE you get to choose a lot more double E electives and a lot fewer CS electives, and that kind of keeps on increasing in the direction of CS on this side and then double E on that side.
Got it. So you're doing many more CS electives, and that's why sort of it comes that way.
Yeah, I realized that double E courses weren't for me, so I just switched to
And
CS.
very often, colleges that offer engineering and students go in thinking that they'll be, kind of greasing their hands and doing and making things. the reality is very different, right? Because you're just learning a lot of physics and math and some intro engineering courses.
For sure. I think when you go in and your courses for the first year won't give you anything that is like um I would say there's definitely some exciting problems that turn up, but nothing that is too complicated or too hands-on. You'll have, even if you're doing a project, you have a very specific spec, and you have to follow that. So that might take away from the experience, and you have a lot of like loaded physics classes and everything to catch up before you can do your other classes. But I think to get that sort of an experience, and I think I had a good experience with like I had tons of fun doing that sort of stuff in clubs. Like if you go for student organizations, they're usually doing a lot of hands-on projects, and you have seniors to guide you through. Those people are you have done industry internships, know what kind of stuff goes on in the industry, and the idea with a lot of these organizations is to kind of replicate that sort of project structure from the industry in a college experience. Obviously, it's not exactly the same because we don't have the same resources at the same time, but we do some interesting projects in those organizations. And I think in terms of that engineering intuition, you do learn a lot from that.
Fantastic. That's really good to know. In terms of CS, though, again, there are companies who are always giving challenges out to students. Is that something sophomores also participate in?
I mean, well, we do participate in so a lot of companies around UCLA and around LA host these one-day events where they have it's essentially a mini hackathon, and you can go in, you have some food, and you can learn a skill and then do a hackathon. If that's what you mean, then I think a lot of freshmen and sophomores do go to these events. It's a good way to get to know a company. It's a good way to learn a couple of things.
And get good
Um,
food, I guess. So
yeah,
pizza, free
exactly.
pizza.
As a UCS student, good food isn't really a problem, but yeah.
Right. Okay, great. That's good to know, though. Yeah, it's a fun fact. Of course, the location and the city, does it have an influence on the way you are being, like mental health and just being happy, or it doesn't matter? There's so much work and you don't really look out of the
I think
window.
the campus, like I personally am not the kind of person who goes on out of campus too often, but I do enjoy like the campus and the weather, and I think generally the people are pretty fun. And a couple of times I have gone out, it's pretty cool to say, okay, that day I just went down to Santa Monica, or that day I just went down to Hollywood, so that's pretty fun. Also, I think we're located in a decently populated suburb around LA, so you get like I think a good match of the experience between like a college town. Westwood is practically just based around UCLA and a city because it is a part of LA County.
Right. So if you were to now tell us a little bit about, electives and not engineering STEM related stuff that you learned. Were they just a
Um,
nuisance to do humanities and social sciences and languages, or did you enjoy some of those classes?
okay, so I haven't taken too many GEs. I had this one English course that I had to take. Again, that was very dependent on the professor. I had a great professor, so I had a good time in that course. Looked at the theory of language, got a good, got like an easy A, and I really remember writing those essays. I remember writing those essays fondly, and then I've taken two GEs this quarter. I have and I actually held back on the GEs my first year and most of my second year just because I didn't want to, and because of that I found like the perfect GEs for me. So I'm taking one history of India class and one astrobiology class. So I'm definitely enjoying them a lot. There's some in my history class. There's some good debates going on, and I have some interesting questions. And it's a very different perspective on the history of India that we get like from the CBSE perspective is very different from what I got here, and astrobiology, like life in the universe, is something I've been interested in always. I've looked up a lot of YouTube videos about it, so it's definitely fun to learn about it in a more formal kind of an environment. And it's like usually engineers end up taking Gs for easy A's to boost our GPAs. So I think it definitely takes off the stress, and if you choose a good class, you can have a lot of fun. So
And these are
I don't think
typically still very large lectures, or they could be smaller groups.
it really depends on what class you choose. Like my history lecture is 40 people, which is a decently small lecture, but my astro lecture is I think 130 people right now.
Okay.
So
Great. So let's switch gears and talk about you and as a person. What are the three strengths you think define you in terms of just words, just three words, which are strengths?
I guess communication. I think I yeah. I don't mind saying what's on my mind usually, and that helps me work with people. Um, Two would be creativity. I think I can come up with like cool ideas of doing stuff or like cool solutions. And third might just be passion. If I like something, then I just like keep going. Not much really, just uh, demotivates me that easily if I really like want to do something. So
It's great. Uh, the next question is about inspiration you draw from, say, maybe a YouTube channel or a blog or a specific influencer. Who are your favorites,
um,
authors, etc.?
so I guess um, if it's about like inspiration about what kind of projects to do or what kind of person to be, yeah, there's a few people like I really like Bill Gates, Elon Musk, and there's a couple of YouTubers who have some very interesting CS projects, and I found a few dev profiles online that I really like, and I follow those people. If it's like in terms of like if you're having a tough time and then you're like, okay, what keeps you motivated that time is just a lot of high beats kind of music. And there's this line from I think one of the Rocky movies, one punch, one step, one down at a time. So you just like
Yeah,
focus on what's in your face right now, and then we'll take care of the rest later.
super. Right. So I'm gonna ask you one last question, and that's like about advice to high school kids you would want to give, especially this time when there's so much uncertainty and they need to plan ahead and do interesting things. What would your advice be?
I mean, honestly, I think just just have fun. Like find that one thing or a few things that you really have fun with, and and kind of like explore that and see people who are doing well in that, doing well at that particular thing, and try and see what about them you think uh, makes them special, or kind of like makes them good at what they or at that particular thing that you like. Because I think if you get into that and dive into that, you find a particular strength within yourself that you maybe haven't like seen yet or something, and it'll be a great use of your time and you have a lot of fun as well.
Super. I think thanks again, Ishnur, for being so generous with your time. And I know there's a summer ahead, and uh, there'll be work here. Yeah, one thing again. How are you planning time this summer? Because it might be a pretty long, extended stay-at-home situation. What are your
Yeah.
plans?
It's not very concrete as of now. So I am still looking for an internship. I am currently in the process at a couple of places. Let's see if that works out. But other than that, I have a few projects going. I have two projects going with my team back at UCLA. I'm working on a project with one of my friends, and I also recently started another project with a friend. And
So
my
these are
roommate and I
projects which
are.
are entrepreneurial or in nature, or these are just
So
work which school gives
Most
you?
of them are just like regular CS projects, portfolio projects. But my roommate and I are trying to start an entrepreneurial project. We're working on the idea right now. And then over the summer, we're gonna kind of make it more concrete and hopefully take it to some sort of a um, larger scale where people actually start using our products. So,
Great. So all the best for that, and
thank
look forward to following your work and being in touch over summer. We do have a few webinars coming along where we'll mash up. We'll have two or three people from different walks of life, different interests, connect and speak to students who are listening in or tuning in. So thanks, and we'll be in touch.
thank you. Yeah.